Hey guys, Haley Johnson here from Redis Labs. First off, thank you so much for joining us at this year's Redis conference. In today's session, I had the opportunity to sit down with some individuals from ShareChat, an India-based social media company. We dug in to a major migration project that they recently wrapped up. They shared some of their key learnings and insights, talked a bit about their partnership with Google Cloud, and lastly, what they love most about Redis. So tune in, and I hope you enjoy. Really appreciate both of you joining us today. We're so excited to have you speak at Redis conference and obviously represent both Redis Labs and GCP. Can we start out? Can we just get a quick introduction? Would you mind telling me, your name and then your role specifically at ShareChat?
Sure. So I am Kundan Kumar. I am head of infrastructure at ShareChat.
Oh, sure. So yeah, this is Abhimanyu Jaju. I'm with software engineering team, specifically in infrastructure team, working with Kundan.
Kundan, would you tell us a little bit about ShareChat, maybe for folks that are not overly familiar? What does the company do? What is your team?
ShareChat is a vernacular social media. It's like we have app in different languages, mostly in Indian languages, Hindi, Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil, and all different languages, right? We have pretty decent user in India. So we have around 15 million daily active users, 60 million monthly active users, right? We are also planning to expand in countries where the people speak their native languages, not English. For example, like Thailand and other Southeast Asia countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, as an organization, we have multiple teams. One team is community that mostly look after how we can aggregate the content, how we can interact with the user, right? Then we have engineering team, which mostly look at the front end of the app, back end of the app, then infrastructure, right? Right. So then in engineering, we have multiple pods there, right? So that's how our organization is divided, right? So apart from that, ShareChat has amazing technology stack, right? It's using Redis Lab, Elasticsearch. Then we are also using the PubSub and all of like pretty new technology and cool technology we are using.
So there's so many different areas that we can dive into. I think one that is quite relevant for our audience specifically, and also one that your VP of Engineering, Venkatesh Ramaswamy, recently described as one of the world's largest cloud-to-cloud migrations in India and possibly the world. So first off, congratulations. That's huge. I guess from a high-level perspective, can you just kind of walk us through and describe that project?
Sure. So yeah, as Venkatesh mentioned, right, it was one of India's largest migration, right? I'm not pretty sure about the world, but in India, I can definitely say it was one of the largest, right? Yeah. Apart from that, this was the Big Bang migration. In Big Bang migration, what you do, you cut off the whole traffic in one day. No one has ever done it. We have talked to the multiple teams, even the cloud teams and the consultant were suggesting to not do that because when you migrate services one by one, you have a lot of time to debug a single service, scale that services, right? When you are migrating whole services, right? Then you have there is a problem and you use one services, you have to debug a bunch of services, right? So that problem you might face. Even suppose your database is not working, but you don't know what you need to debug. But if one service is not behaving proper, when you are migrating one services, you know that this service is using only these tables or using this Redis database, right? You can debug it easily. Yep. So we did a lot of planning, right? So we developed custom tools. One is our custom API gateway, then a wrapper around a big table and a spanner, right? So we developed a lot of tools to help us, right? Apart from that, we did a lot of testing on the live traffic. So the custom API gateway was able to copy the live traffic and asynchronously send it to the Google Cloud, right? So it's like we run on the two clouds, AWS and GCP, for 1 month to just do the testing, proper testing, right? Yep. Then to solve the problems like AWS different kind of services, GCP has different kind of services. We wrote our wrappers. So you can say this was a compiler. So for example, it will take a DynamoDB string as an input and will output you the big table or a spanner string, right? So that type of the tools we developed to do this migration. Overall, finally, we were able to do the cutoff within 12 hours. That was pretty good job from our team and from the ShareChat. Also, we were led to thank the Google team, Redis Lab team, and our consultant team, which helps in this process.
So you mentioned this single night cutover. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that was required? Why did it have to be done in one night like that?
We have a lot of data stored in AWS, right? That needs to be migrated to GCP. We cannot have services running in GCP and accessing data from AWS. And this was mostly because we cannot have, because we everything is dependent on data, right? We cannot have services calling AWS data over the internet with a lot of traffic going out into public internet, right? And the NAT gateways at GCP is not capable enough to handle that kind of traffic. So what we did was, let's say, initially we experimented with something like, let's say, so in the first phase, what we did was we mirrored all the traffic that was coming on AWS, and we mirrored that kind of traffic to GCP so as to kind of measure the scale and the capacity of the underlying infrastructure. And when we are done with that, we initially kind of send 5%, 1%, 2%, till 5% traffic to test out everything. And 5% traffic is good enough for us because to test out all the functionality and sanity, but we cannot have 100% because the data is stored on AWS. So what we had was we had to do this over a night because all the data needs to be there before actually traffic is going to GCP.
I have a PPT. I don't know if it will be visible. Let me share with you guys. This was the architecture of ShareChat before migration, right? So these are clients, mobile client, web client. Then we have AWS ALB. Here we have API gateway, custom API gateway, which we build on the top of Zoom. Then here we have like internal services network. This one, service 1, service 2, service 3. And these are all accessing the Amazon services, right? So this was ShareChat before migration. Everything was in AWS. Yes, so this was the ShareChat during migration. As I mentioned, like we were able to copy that traffic asynchronously, right? So this all magic was done by this Joule API gateway, traffic manager, right? It was able to copy all the live traffic coming on the AWS and sending it to the GCP. In that way, we were able to test the GCP properly. We were able to send 5%, 10%, or 50% like that, and then see how the GCP is behaving on the async traffic. That's how we tested the GCP services plus Redis Lab. Everything we tested in that way, right? And this was also able to send the synchronous traffic as well. During the migration, we switched a flag which disabled the asynchronous traffic and started sending the synchronous traffic, right? So this was all the magic was done by this traffic directory. And here, as Abhimanyu mentioned, there was the wrappers. So wrappers was working here. These were the services clusters. These were the services cluster in AWS. These are services cluster in GCP, right? So the wrappers were working here. So everything which we were taking the DynamoDB query and then converting it to the Bigtable or Spanner query, and then taking the whatever request going to the SQS, taking that and then translating it to the request of PubSub like that. Then this is the ShareChat after the migration. Everything is on the GCP. This is Google Load Balancer, and traffic is going through this. Here we have internal services, and all these internal services accessing the Google Cloud services.
From your perspective, what would be some of the values that you've seen in leveraging Google specifically? You mentioned some of their services. I think I heard BigQuery earlier. If you could speak to maybe some of those services you've been leveraging on Google.
Right. Even when we was on AWS, we were using the Firebase and other Google services, Google Ads, all those services. We are also social media. We use the Google Ads to show our ads, and we also fetch the ads from the Google to show on our platform, right? So it's like two-way. Our ads is published on the Google, and Google Ads is published on our environment, right? So it's like partnership between two organizations.
One of the key things that we are seeing in day-to-day interactions with CTOs and tech leaders is something around multi-tenancy. Now, what do you personally feel from your experience so far? Is this going to be a reality in 2 years, 5 years down the line, or this will continue to remain a boardroom discussion? Some of the organizations whom we speak to want to
Yes.
ensure that the services that they're running on these clouds are agnostic of the platform, or they're not serving any lock-ins. So do you really, but at the same time, achieving multi-cloud is not as easy as it sounds like. So do you personally feel 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, do you personally see that large organizations might be leveraging top 2 public clouds or top 3 public clouds? Do you think that might be a reality anytime soon?
I see that this might be reality. I will give you the few reasons why. First of all, not all cloud is based in all services, right? And not all kind of services support your use cases. For example, in some cases, DynamoDB might be better, but in other cases, for example, you have financial use cases, the spanner is much better than DynamoDB, right? So it's all depend, and as an organization, you can have multiple use cases. You can have you want to dump the counters, you want to do the financial transaction. For example, let's take the ShareChat example, right? We have a team, ads team, right, which are looking at the revenue, right? They might be looking at the transactional database, distributed transactional database, where they can audit their financial logs, right? For that, their spanner is very much useful, right? Apart from that, the cost perspective, right? So what happens that when as an organization, you always want to save your costs. So if you are using different services for your different use cases, you are able to save a lot of cost. If you are using one services for all the use cases, you might not be able to save the cost. I will give you another example. For some use cases, the in-memory database is much better, right? And you are doing the same thing in the database, you are going to pay a lot, or it might be happen that database is not able to support that kind of the scale, correct? So that's why each cloud services has some differences, still some differences, right? So if you are leveraging the multi-cloud, you will be able to serve your use cases, plus you will be able to save a lot of cost.
So you guys had mentioned a lot that transition between AWS over to GCP. So our understanding is, when you were running your AWS service, you were leveraging Elasticache. Can you mention to us maybe some of the key differences you've noticed in migrating from Elasticache over to Redis Enterprise on GCP?
Yes, so there is some differences, right? For example, Elasticache have like a single tenancy, right? You can configure one database on one node, but in Redis Lab, you can host multiple databases in one node, right? In this way, you can save a lot of cost, right? Yep. And as a startup, this is the requirement to save a cost, right? Because when you don't have much revenue, you should able to focus on saving the cost, right? So first is this. Then Redis Lab has a different architecture than Elasticache, right? So for some use cases, Redis Lab architecture is best suited for us. Apart from that, Redis Lab also has custom tools. For example, searching, ML tools, right? That is not available in the Elasticache.
Mm-hmm. To kind of wrap up the conversation from the perspective of the Big Bang migration, can you each share for us maybe a key learning that you took away, a challenge that you experienced, or maybe a business driver that you were able to overcome?
The biggest challenge was mostly maintaining the sanity of the data. So with services, we had, before the migration, we had a lot of services running on, so multi-cloud was there in our use case. So we were running services, a lot of services in GCP and in the AWS. They both were interacting with each other over the internet. So it was reality before this migration. Now everything is moved to GCP. So the challenge was mostly with respect to data. We have different data stores in AWS, different data stores in GCP, different type of in-memory cache in AWS, different kind of in-memory cache in GCP. So to be able to maintain the sanity of the data, so that, because see, a lot of services are very convoluted. They use data written by somebody else, and then they use it, and then they write some data so that the next service can use it, right? So to be able to do the migration with all these scenarios keeping in mind was a very big challenge, so that if some data is written at some place, that data is not corrupted and it is accessible by any other service in the entire ecosystem. So, and then to be able to write it properly and during this migration between AWS and GCP was a very big challenge. And then, of course, to be able to have because of the way different data stores work, our services need to be compatible at the same application need to be compatible with different type of data stores. So if that service is running on AWS, it should understand Elasticsearch and DynamoDB. If it is running in Spanner, it should understand, in GCP, it should understand Spanner and Bigtable and Redis Lab. So this was a very big challenge.
Mm-hmm. And how did you overcome that challenge?
So what we did was we had a lot of different flavors of a single application with small changes, as in if the service is running in GCP, we should use these. So we had written a lot of wrappers on top of data source. So the contract of that wrapper was same. It was primarily kept same because we cannot have all the code changes, right? So what we did was we added wrappers on top of accessing the data layer or the data source, and these layers will switch depending on which environment they were running, right? So if the same application was running on AWS, it will switch to a wrapper which understands how AWS and data source work in AWS. And if it is running in GCP, it will understand how GCP data source are working and how Redis Lab is working. Okay. So that kind of wrapper was very key in the whole migration.
What would be your perspective? What challenges did you face in this, and how did you overcome those?
So you should do the planning and do a lot of testing, right? So first of all, we spend around 2 or 3 months to do the plannings. We find out which services of AWS should be mapped to the which services of GCP. Right after that, we run the POC if the skill that we are operating on, is that service is going to support that kind of a skill or not, right? So it might happen that you see there is an immediate solution, but it might happen that that solution is not capable of handling so much skill. So you should do a POC and then planning. Apart from that, we build our system in a way that we can do testing as much as we want. So I give you an example. We created our custom routers. We were able to ship the live traffic asynchronously, right? So whatever traffic is going to the AWS, we were also sending to the GCP. Mm-hmm. On the top of that, that router was also able to do the ramp up. So you can send only 1% of the traffic, 5% of the traffic, or like 50% of the traffic, right? So initially we warmed up the environment by sending the 5% of the traffic. We feel that, okay, now GCP is able to support the 5% traffic, then let's push it to 10% traffic, right? If GCP is not able to support 5%, then we'll roll back all the services and try to figure out where is the problem, right? So you need to build your system in a way you can do the proper testing. So these two things you must keep in the mind while you are doing the Big Bang migration, planning, and create an environment where you are able to test everything. So your test should be like seamless.
So thank you guys so much for providing context in your learnings. That was really helpful. I guess changing gears now to focus a little bit more specifically on your Redis workloads. So obviously the migration that we talked about represented a magnitude of scale. Can you guys talk a little bit about your busiest databases and what kind of scale they operate at?
The highest throughput that we are operating on a single database is 2 million RPS. It's still 2 million operation per second, and RAM is around 200 GB, 300 GB, right? But if you talk about overall, then we are operating around 3 million ops and terabytes of the memory.
A lot of our viewers would be also interested to know what is it that this database does which requires 2 million operations per second. What is it performing? What's its role?
That is used for sending out notifications for targeted users.
What has been your experience leveraging Redis Enterprise Cloud as a managed service on GCP? And can you speak a little bit more to the specific use case that you're using it for?
I have seen the Redis Lab evolving in the GCP. So in last year, I have seen the product is growing at very high speed. Uh-huh. So initially it was infrastructure from the ShareChat and the support from the Redis Lab. It's now completely managed by Redis Lab, right? So we don't need to look after the cost. All the cost optimization is looked after the Redis Lab team. Uh-huh. Apart from that, the multi-tenancy has helped us in saving the cost. Then Redis Lab also offer the other modules which are not available in open source Redis. We are planning to use those. We have a lot of ML use cases, right? We are planning to use that, right? We are also using the Elasticsearch. We are trying to see if some use cases can be transferred to the Redis Lab search, right? So these are the use cases we are trying to solve using Redis Lab. I would also like to mention that Redis Lab team is very amazing. They are always on the phone call to just give them a phone call, and they are ready to help us. So that's pretty amazing.
You had mentioned the Redis modules. I guess I would be curious, is there a specific module that you're interested in or that you're evaluating today?
We are mostly evaluating the modules related to the AI and ML.
Okay.
Right. Also, I am personally interested in evaluating the search module, but I have not planned yet when to do that. Right.
I think a lot has been said about managed workloads of databases and self-managed workloads of databases. So I'll keep it more specific to Redis, or rather, let's keep it even to NoSQL databases. From the organizational point of view, what are the parameters based on which ShareChat decided to go for something which is fully managed as compared to self-managed?
First of all, there is benefit of using the managed services, right? So why people are moving to the cloud, right? We can interpret this question as this, right? So this offer you a lot of benefits. So that team has already a lot of experience in managing that specific service, right? For example, let's take the Redis Lab. They have pretty good, decent experience in managing the Redis Lab, right? Redis services. If you are going to manage Redis by ourselves, first of all, we will have to have the expert in the Redis, right? Which not only know the how to use the Redis, but also how to manage the Redis. That is very, very difficult to find out, right? Redis Lab has already all of those developers there. They know what is the internals of Redis, right? So we get their experience when we use the managed service, right? So that's how we decide. So it's not like, so in the managed services, you may pay a little much more cost, but you have a lot of benefit. You can sleep at night comfortably, right? So they have the team in the USA and also in the India. They have the team in the different time zones. So they are managing 24/7. As a startup, you may not have the team in across the globe, right? So it's very, very difficult to ask only the team which are in India to monitor 24/7, right? So these are the benefits you get. You get the expertise, you get the very well comfortable sleep at night, right? And after that, you don't have to, you get a lot of tools which are already built. You don't need to rediscover the wheels, right? For example, they have already set up the monitoring. We don't need to set up the monitoring once again. All of these benefits are for the managed services. That's why I think the people now are moving to the cloud as well. It's not only that you are in elasticity of the cloud, but also that they give the managed services.
So my last question, and I would love if each of you could answer, what do you love most about Redis as a technology?
I am a big fan of Redis, right? So it's amazingly fast, and it solves a lot of use cases, right? So whatever is not solved by the database, just temporarily solve with the Redis, and then dump your data in the Redis, databases, right? So this is, and the pretty decent data structures, right? So it's like you are doing the programming. So you get the sorted set, hash tables, right? Key value pairs, all those. So it's like you are doing some kind of Java coding where you have tree map, hash map, all those things. So this is the pretty amazing set of the data structure, and it's the blazingly fast. These two I like a lot. Maybe Abhimanyu could add more things what he likes about the Redis.
Exactly what Kundan said. Because of the speed, primarily, what database cannot handle 2 million ops with small scale. Redis can do this, and at a very comparatively very low cost as compared to a full-fledged database is something like Spanner. You have a lot of options, and then definitely it's all about latency. So you have pretty good latencies, and to be able to serve 16 million users daily, it is definitely the key for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both so much. That was a really, really great interview. We appreciate your perspective on your project. Congratulations on the Big Bang migration. And thank you so much for joining us today. Tejas, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think thanks a lot for taking out time late evening. I know everyone's busy, so really appreciate that. Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.